Best player you've gone against?
In college, it's been probably Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston.
What kind of happened there?
Please. Oh my God. Okay.
Paige Bueckers just sat down for an interview, and the moment came. She was asked who the best player she's ever faced in college was. Without hesitation. Without dodging. Without the usual carefully worded, politically correct answer athletes usually give. Her response? Caitlin Clark. Then, she caught herself, laughed, and added Aaliyah Boston, like she suddenly remembered she was supposed to spread the love around. But that first instinct, the immediate, unfiltered response, spoke volumes about how Paige really feels about going up against Caitlin on the court. Here's the thing, context matters more than the soundbite. Paige was asked a straightforward question, something athletes hear all the time. Most of them respond with a careful list of names, trying not to create drama or hurt anyone's feelings. Oh, there have been so many great competitors, they say, rattling off 5 or 6 names to cover all bases. Paige didn't do that. Her first answer was Caitlin Clark. Boom. No pause. No thinking about who she should mention to avoid controversy. Just raw, instinctive honesty. That's the kind of response that tells you exactly what's going through her mind when she steps on the court against the very best.
So many names in college basketball now that are huge, that are stars, that deserve credit, and I think it's not my job, but the media can do a better job of just making sure everybody gets love, everybody gets not equal amount of attention, but try to spread it out more. So I honestly hope next year I'm not the vocal point and the only person that gets attention, and I hope as media, as players, we can spread the love a little bit more.
Then reality kicked in. You could almost see it happen in real time during the interview. Paige realized she had just singled out one player, when she was supposed to be diplomatic about these things. She laughed, quickly added Aaliyah Boston to the list, and moved on. And to be clear, Aaliyah Boston is an incredible player, former National Player of the Year, a dominant force in college basketball, a completely legitimate answer. But the fact that Paige had to backtrack and add her name tells you exactly who was truly at the top of her mind. This matters because Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark have always carried this strange, media-fueled dynamic. They're both guards, both deadly shooters, both generational talents who were expected to define an era of women's college basketball. And because of that, fans and media kept trying to craft a rivalry narrative between them. Here's the catch, that rivalry was mostly theoretical. Paige and Caitlin rarely faced each other. They played in different conferences and only crossed paths in tournaments or early season showcases. They didn't have a long history of going head-to-head every year. So, while the story of a rivalry sounded compelling, the reality was far less dramatic.
Paige, I think a few of the turnovers that the 4 turnovers today, I think a few of them were picked off by Caitlin. Was there anything in particular that you saw maybe that she was kind of step ahead, or it kind of seemed like she was jumping the passing lanes a few times?
Yeah. I mean, you answered it. She's just a very smart basketball player, so she'll get out and deny passing lanes. I'm gonna make catches difficult, but yeah.
But that didn't stop people from constantly comparing them. Who's the better shooter? The better passer? Who has more impact on their team? Who would you rather build a program around? These questions came up endlessly, despite the fact that Paige and Caitlin played with completely different supporting casts and in entirely different systems. Through all of that comparison, through all the manufactured rivalry hype, both players stayed remarkably diplomatic in public. They never fed the drama, they just let their game speak for themselves.
I mean, we've always been friends. I wouldn't say like we're best friends and talk all the time. It's hard when you end up going your separate ways and are at different colleges and things like that. And, you know, I've always been a fan of hers and always been supportive.
They'd always compliment each other when asked. They'd say the right things about respecting each other's game. They avoided hot takes that could be turned into headlines. Standard professional athlete behavior when the media wants you to have beef with a peer. But this interview felt different. Paige let her guard down for a moment. That immediate response, Caitlin Clark's name coming out before any PR training kicked in, told you exactly what she really thought. Caitlin Clark was the best player she faced in college. Period. Everything else was just diplomacy. And here's why that matters. When elite athletes talk about their toughest competition, they're usually honest. They know better than anyone else what it's like to compete at that level. They know who kept them up at night preparing. They know who forced them to elevate their game just to stay competitive. So when Paige says Caitlin Clark is the best she faced, that's not a casual compliment. That's one elite player acknowledging another's impact. If you watch the games between UConn and Iowa, you'll see why Paige says this. Both players elevated their games because they knew they were going against someone special. Caitlin would drain deep threes with a defender draped all over her, make no-look passes straight out of a highlight reel, and take over games in ways that made Iowa feel like it had 6 players on the floor instead of 5. She was a one-woman offense. Paige responded by showcasing her full skill set: the shooting, the passing, the defense, the leadership. She tried to match Caitlin's production while making everyone around her better, which is exactly what the UConn system demands. These matchups became showcases for 2 of the best players in the country, each pushing the other to their limits. From a competitive psychology standpoint, Paige has faced a lot of great players: future WNBA stars, USA basketball talent, tournament-level competition. And yet, Caitlin Clark comes to mind first. That says everything about her impact. It's not just about stats or highlights. It's the mental challenge of preparing for someone who can do everything at an elite level, with the confidence to take any shot from anywhere and the killer instinct to dominate in crucial moments. And yes, Paige added Aaliyah Boston's name after Caitlin. Boston is legitimately one of the best players Paige faced, a national champion and player of the year. Any list that didn't include her would be incomplete. But adding her also softened the headline. Instead of creating a story about Paige saying Caitlin is the best ever, she gave a nod to multiple elite competitors. Smart media management, but it doesn't change that Caitlin was her first instinct. The timing of this interview also matters. Both players are now professionals, Caitlin in the WNBA, Paige carving out her own path. There's less pressure to be diplomatic about college competition. Paige can speak honestly about those experiences without worrying about team dynamics or stirring drama. The bigger story here is the mutual respect between elite players. The manufactured rivalry is exhausting. The constant who's better debates miss the point. Paige and Caitlin aren't enemies. They're competitors who understand that playing against someone at that level brings out the best in both of them. That laugh Paige gives after saying Caitlin's name? It's not nervous, it's recognition. Acknowledging the truth everyone already knows. Caitlin was incredibly tough to play against. Those Iowa-UConn games were must-watch basketball. Both players elevated their games. The ratings proved it. The attention proved it. And Paige's answer confirms it. Caitlin Clark wasn't just a great player. She was the kind of opponent who forced you to bring your absolute best. This also speaks to the growth of women's basketball. 15 years ago, these stories might not have mattered to a mainstream audience. Today, Paige naming Caitlin as her toughest opponent resonates, because these players helped bring the sport into the spotlight. Caitlin's record-breaking career drew massive audiences. Paige's journey, despite setbacks, kept fans invested. Together, they represent a generation that elevated women's basketball to cultural relevance. Paige's answer also reveals her basketball IQ. She didn't just name Caitlin because it's popular. She named her because she experienced firsthand how difficult it is to compete against her. That first instinct, before diplomacy or media strategy, tells you everything about who really pushed her hardest on the court. This is what real respect between elite competitors looks like, no matter how much people wanted them to hate each other.